This is
The Handbag Husband.
the Handbag Husband.
International.
Yay, international. Today we are still here in beautiful Venice, and I say it every time in every video, but it's so beautiful. It's just ridiculous how beautiful this city is. But one thing we want to cover today and talk about is, we've been going to a lot of boutiques, and in fact we're visiting 4 boutiques here in Italy on our Hermèscapade this time around. We're going to Venice, Milan, and Rome, and Florence, and there are tons and tons of great reviews about people who love these boutiques, and we also love these boutiques as well. But this video we're going to focus on the 0-star reviews, the people who decided that they wanted to try to give 0 stars if it was possible to the different boutiques that we actually are going to visit. So we're going to see if that kind of lines up with our perception of each of these boutiques and the experiences that we've had as we go through there, or maybe just figure out if there's some other reason why people are disappointed. Now, before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you like the Hermes conversation, if you like the Hermes milieu, and if you like the bag candy, because every video always has bag candy, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel to grow. And of course, we are so thankful for that.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille. But also because it means you get notified when our newest long videos come out, our short videos come out, and everything else we got going on the socials at Handbag Husband on Instagram as well as YouTube, because we got new Hermes content coming out every single week. So let's get down to those 0-star reviews for Milan and Venice. So let's start off with the 0-star reviews for Milan. And Milan is the flagship boutique here in Italy. And so that means they get a lot of people coming in. And whenever you have lots of people coming in, most people are probably gonna be happy, and I think that's the case. But there's a fair amount of people who are pretty upset. And we see that in the reviews. And at this point, so far, we are in Venice. So we've actually gone to our boutique visits in Milan and Venice so far. So we're gonna talk about our specific experiences versus these ones for just Milan and Venice. All right, so the first one up says, it is just a quick piece of advice to future customers who want to visit the store, and make sure you don't be like me and enter the shop 30 minutes before they close at 7 p.m.
Yes, this one is no shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? And in fact, we've seen this other before. The other guy, at
Yes.
Christmas time, he's like, oh, I showed up in the last 10 minutes and they wouldn't serve me.
It's on
How dare they?
It's on Christmas Eve
Yeah,
or something.
that one's on you. And I think this person realizes that.
I mean, I understand. It's like, oh, like on a customer side, it's like, oh, I had 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Why are you not
Yeah.
eliminating? I need to get something real quick. But
Or maybe the train's late, or especially here in Italy, that stuff
Yes.
happens all the time.
Yes.
And, you have one day in one city and it's the end of the thing.
Yes.
And I totally understand it, but you can't be butthurt about it if you got 10 minutes left.
My point is like 30 minutes, that's the time. That's the time that the Hermes take to find you one thing, like one object.
Yeah, Hermes
So-
is slow life for sure.
So
right?
they might be like, you know what, that's a policy. Actually, I don't know. I actually don't know, but I think that maybe they don't want the customer, if they already take the customer
Correct.
into
Yeah.
the store,
Yeah.
they want to make sure that
Yeah.
the experience is good enough.
And also, they realize that those visits sometimes last 4 hours.
Correct.
Right. So if you come in at 6:30,
Yeah.
and you leave at, I don't know, what is that, 9 o'clock at night? They're like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's not how this is
So-
gonna work.
So I understand. I kind of see why they say, like, you know what, 30 minutes you cannot.
Yeah.
Like, it's yes.
That's just the first part. So they wouldn't sell you anything at that time. Okay, makes sense. And they say they say advise to come back tomorrow. Again, many handbags were on display, yet the same excuse is they have no stock. I wonder, how is their sales strategy with such a selling tactic that drew every customer away? It is consumers' behavior that they are having fun with. The local staff are more friendly, though, than in Venice. We'll talk about that. And the doorman just let you enter, and the new trainee will take you down with your name and assign an essay to you, and then make sure that you are served. So I guess we can take those in points, right? So obviously showing up late, that's on this person, right? That's on them. Them not having any staff, I mean, that is their opening line. That's their opening salvo for literally everybody.
No stocks?
Yeah, no stock, yeah. They're like, oh, we don't have any bags, we don't have any stock, whatever. And again, if she's coming at 7:30 or at 6:30 at the very end of the day, then yeah, all the stock is gone.
Like
if
for the
you're-
day, like for the day, yeah.
I mean, even if you're like the first person in the door, sometimes like we don't have any stock. So if you're the last person in the door, you're already at a pretty big deficit. And the last point where she says that the staff in Milan is more friendly than in Venice,
I think it's about the same.
I think it's about the same.
I think
yeah.
it's Italian thing
What do you mean?
because it's consistent throughout. Like Milan,
Oh.
Venice.
Well, I mean, of course, you got to think about these boutiques are in these like own little, they're in their own little microcosms of just like really busy, really frenetic kind of stuff. So maybe that's just
I
like
think it's the same. Like the friendliness level of
Yeah.
Milan, Venice, Florence, Rome, Napoli.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much the same.
And again, if you're hitting them at 6:30 at the end of the day, you're like, I just want to go home. My feet are tired. I've literally walked 1,000 miles going back and forth to all the bags and things like that. So I can see how maybe they're not as friendly as they could have been had they been early. So I don't see a big difference between Milan and Venice though. They both seem, like you said, about
the same. Yeah.
It's just that Milan is so much busier.
yeah.
So the number 2 0-star review here is, guys, please don't go here and don't waste your time at this location. The staff at this location is damaging and will damage the reputation and joy to buy Hermes.
I guess like as the joy of buying MS.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with that aspect is that it's subjective, right? There's no
Like
objective.
what are you expecting? Like
Yes,
you
yes.
expecting what like super
Yeah.
like pamper treatments inside, or
yeah.
you just want to go in buy bags and then call it a day, you know?
I mean, I think we are the latter of the two. So we oftentimes don't get offended when they're not like, oh, here's. I mean, yes, I like to have coffee or I like to have water.
I actually like the fact that Milan has the water tray handed out.
yeah.
I love that. I was like, this is awesome.
But they
I
gotta
need
pay a
to-
person to walk. They gotta pay the waiter to walk
No,
around.
but that
with
one
it.
makes sense because it's so busy.
Yes, it
It's
totally
so
makes
busy,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it would. The SAs wouldn't have time to do
Correct,
that for
correct,
them.
correct,
Yeah. But yeah, I think the idea of damaging the reputation and ruining the joy.
It's up to one's
Yeah.
expectation. What are you
Yeah,
expecting
like
when
how do
you enter
you?
the store?
Yeah, especially as you're not going to meet, especially considering how many people come in and out of these stores, they're not going to meet everyone's expectations.
Yes.
And also because a lot of people think, oh, it's expensive, right? These things
Oh,
are
it is.
expensive, which
Overpriced,
they're
expensive,
Yeah,
yes.
so I should be treated with white gloves. And
I
yes,
mean, you will
think
treat with white gloves when you get the white gloves.
when you get the white gloves.
Yes.
Even then they don't, and who cares, right?
No.
Look, the goal is for us to be able to have and enjoy and appreciate Hermes. The goal is not to walk around a store and be fluffed by, an SA.
Yes.
So I think a lot of these complaints sometimes are like, oh, my experience was terrible because the SA wasn't fluffing anybody. When reality,
Their job is not to fluff anybody.
I mean, of course they have to have a nice rapport
Yes,
and build that with the
definitely.
clientele. But especially in these kinds of boutiques, especially for touristi, it really is going to be more transactional. And so, I mean, I'm more appreciative of them being like, no, we don't have any bags, get out of here, than being like, oh, let's sit down, have a long talk, and be like, sorry, we don't have any bags.
Yes,
Yeah.
because there are more to see, to do, and to eat in, these tourist cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as staff being rude, I mean, I think this is a common theme that we
I
see
think
with
it's just
Hermes.
cultural thing.
I think it is cultural. I think it is cultural. I think people are interpreting the Italians' approach to service as being rude because it doesn't match up, especially if you're coming from, again, our experience in Asia was night and day, right? The way that they interact with their clientele, the way that they assist folks it is sort of over the top, to be honest.
I think so.
And it feels great, but I think that it'd be hard to expect that if you're coming to Europe because that's
For
just,
sure.
I mean, that's just
That's not
not
how
the
they
way,
work, yeah.
that's just not how they roll,
Yeah.
In the US, it's kind of similar as well, maybe not as much as Asia, but it's a similar kind of level of kowtowing. But
They're friendlier. I'm not saying that in Asia it's not friendly.
Yeah.
They're friendly, but
Yeah.
it's not the same way as
Yeah.
in the US.
yeah. So yeah, I can see how people would say it's rude, but maybe they're just misinterpreting the interactions. Or maybe they are rude. I don't know. It's possible, right? These are
Not-
these
it's just
these
not
are just
our-
our opinions,
yeah.
right? And it hasn't been our experience. And also, I think we're so focused on the process and interacting and working through the SA relationships that maybe we're not noticing if they are rude to us, or we just disregard it because
Sure.
ultimately it's not important to us.
I mean, it is.
Because ultimately it doesn't have as much weight with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So number 3 for Milan, it says, this is a nice short one. Bad shopping experience ever. I've been there 3 times a week and you just wait and nothing available.
Well, hats off to you, sir.
So,
or madam.
Yeah,
3 times a week.
I think, I don't know if this is good of reason to give 0 stars, right? It's just part of the process. Like anything, like any relationship really, there's kind of 2 aspects to an Hermes relationship, is money and time. You got to spend money and you got to spend time. Same, I mean, that's how you get married too, right? But the thing
No
is,
comment.
but the thing is, if you're just spending the time, but you're not spending the money, then it doesn't matter how many times you show up, right? Just like if you spend the money, but you don't spend enough times, kind of vice versa, it's the same. So I think that this person thinks that it's more about timing than it is about relationship, and I think they're missing that concept.
I guess we don't know the details.
Our experience has always been that you show up multiple times and you spend a little bit here and there, and over time it works in.
Except some situations that we didn't really have to do.
There's some times where we have gotten lucky, but it's never been the opposite.
Sure.
Where we spend money and spend time and then get nothing offered to us. It may not be what we're looking for, and oftentimes it's not what we're looking for. Check out the quota bags that we turned down video. But if you spend enough time and enough money, they will offer you something that's hard to get. Where if you were just a Joe Schmo off the street, first time in, they'd be like, no, we don't have any bags, go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think just showing up each and every day, not always the best strategy.
I guess we're talking about this is quarterback.
Yes. Yeah, presumably, I'm assuming that. So if you just show
Yeah.
up, be like today, be like, oh, you don't have any bags? Okay, I'll come back tomorrow. And oh, you don't have any bags? I'll come back tomorrow. That is a strategy and it might work, but be prepared to come back 5, 10, 15 times, right?
Yeah, tell that to Paris FHS.
I told that to the guy at FSH,
Yeah,
who's just
at the
like,
podium?
he hit
Yeah,
a podium,
tell that,
dude.
yeah.
Man,
So-
he has some war stories, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
I think they should invest a little more in selecting their staff. How unpleasant it is to find yourself with an unprepared girl devoid of knowledge and information, and not only that, completely apathetic. All this leads to serious consequences at the company level. I highly recommend, in the position of company director or higher, to train those who are part of the team well in Milan to avoid other customers hearing laughter behind their backs in the back of the warehouse. So this one seems more like a personal issue, right? I think that, again, it goes back to perspective, right? We hear so often and also experience so rarely ourselves people being rude in these boutiques. I start to wonder if it's us, right? Because
I think because we pick and choose only 0-star review. There are many.
Oh, that's true. Okay,
there
that's
are
fair.
many
This is self-selected
5
audience,
stars,
yeah.
3-star, 4
Yes,
stars.
yes,
But like this is like
Yeah, like beige star reviews, kind of.
correct.
Yeah, so okay, I get that, but and I think that because they are few, it is possible that these are true kind of situations that
Like
maybe someone
like a
was
bad
being
day.
rude to them. Yeah,
Like a bad day.
Everyone has a bad day. It happens. But again, I think because of the nature of our channel for folks who like Hermes, I think that my recommendation is just, you got to grow a little thicker skin. I know you're the customer, and I know the customer's
don't
always
take it
right. I'm
personal.
American, I get it, but
Don't take it personal.
don't take it personal.
Like they don't have a bag. They don't have
Yeah,
a bag.
yeah,
Like don't take it as like,
yeah.
oh, they won't give you the bag.
Or even if they have a bag and they don't want to give it to you, don't take it personal. Doesn't matter. Move
Go
on,
to the next
right?
door.
Yeah, there are many boutiques here
Yes.
in Italy, and all of them are good opportunities to get bags. All of them are opportunities to get bags. I think that the issue of people staff not being trained, I think that's a fair point, actually.
I think there are some, yes.
Yeah, because there are times where you can tell who are the senior sales associates.
For sure.
And who have kind of been through the trenches. Mm-hmm. And you can tell those folks who are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and new, who are excited to help you.
They might just come up from the runner,
Yeah, yeah, that's
become
right.
an essay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can see that,
Yeah.
because sometimes you ask them weird questions.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, this
And
guy,
they're
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
what are you talking
yeah.
about?
These folks are trying to help people get their bags, and I'm giving them a doctoral thesis on
Yeah, so I can
Togo
see-
versus Clemens, right?
yeah, I can
so,
see.
yeah. So what do you think? And they're like, they're both good.
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be at different levels, and again, this goes back to the relationship. I think if you start developing a relationship with Hermes, you will find that the most success comes from, as you develop the relationship, you end up getting SAs who are kind of at the same level you are.
Yeah.
That is the thing I've really noticed is as we've continued to grow, we tend to end up getting paired with SAs who are at a similar level to us. Early on, we got so many SAs that are like this. They're like, hey, I'm new and I'm happy to help you. I want to help you, but I'm new, right?
Sure.
But now, I mean, we very rarely get like brand new, kind of fresh off the boat people, right?
Fresh off the boat?
Yeah, it
Fresh
just
off
seems
the
like
horse?
newly minted. Yeah. Do you think that's true? I mean, that feels true, or maybe I'm
I
just
don't know.
disregarding
I think
it.
it's just random.
Yeah.
I think it's just too random.
No, I think the thing is that our skill in choosing the SA when we have a choice has gotten better.
I mean, in Milan, we didn't have a choice.
We did have a choice.
No,
Yeah.
we did not. 100% sure. You went
I
to
chose the lady.
No, you went up top, and then they tried to put your name down, and then it's actually SA available,
Yeah.
and that lady, she's just right next to the people the person that has the iPad.
That's why you rent the Handbag Husband, because of my SA choice skills, right?
You didn't choose anyone in Milan. Yeah?
I chose them.
No.
I'm the best chooser.
I mean, I always believe you always need to retrain, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's never
Like
too
to
much
make
training.
sure like the company culture,
Yeah.
the
I guess the other side of that is that they actually do have a lot of new people. If you think about it, we're not that far away from the pandemic where essentially their staff dwindled
Sure.
to almost nothing. So even now, we're like 2 years in, it takes, an Hermes SA multiple years to really get super proficient and super like skilled at what they do.
Sure.
So I do think there's some credence to that as well. There's a lot of new faces and they're still kind of getting their feet wet, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you need an allowance for that. But again, when you're looking at SAs and trying to choose SAs, I think those are things that when I'm trying to calculate in my head, I'm trying to figure out like
when
does
you
this,
could.
when possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you just get assigned somebody. But when it's possible, and usually because if you get there early, if you're like the first person on the door, you have your pick of the litter, you know? So you get to choose maybe someone who, for whatever reason, feels like they are more experienced and have more authority. And again, those are times where
I guess
usually
it depends on what are you looking for.
All right, so that is Milan. That's the comments for Milan. And again, I think overall, it doesn't really fit in with our
Some is fair.
experience.
Some
are
is fair.
Yeah,
Some-
there is some fair.
some are fair, yeah.
There's some things that I think are fair. There's some things that I can see how this person perceives it that way, but maybe we don't. And
Yeah.
also some things that, I think it's just some folks being a little overly sensitive. But, I'd be curious to see what you all think if you have a perspective on those as well. But let's move on to Venice, because Venice is a very different store. I mean, primarily
The feel is so
the
much
feel
different.
is so different. It's very small. It feels like a boutique. We use the word boutique to describe the Hermes stores, but I mean the Hermes stores in Milan feels like a superstore, right? It's massive.
It's like Costco.
Yeah, not like Costco, but it's big. It's like a bag dealership.
No, my point is like a Costco in the sense that they have everything.
Oh yeah. Whereas Venice it really does feel like a boutique. It's very small. It's very intimate. You're going to be very close, just physically, with all the people in there. So it has a different feel to it, and also it serves primarily tourists. Venice, I mean, there are locals here, and there's also
A
townies
local
here.
policy.
And there's a local policy for sure, which is something that I was hoping they didn't have as strong of a local policy. But they have an interesting local policy, but we'll talk about more of that in the quarterback versus non-quarterbacks, getting them here in Italy video. Check that out. But let's get to some of the reviews here. Shop was not busy yesterday, but the doorman pretending to restrict customers to be in the store. Once I'm allowed to enter, he is nice and smile at me, but unfortunately the sales staff, a girl not really friendly, she thinks that I'm just a tourist not willing to sell me any handbags. Keep saying no stock. I didn't realize she followed me to the second floor, and I told her I wanted to browse through the bags. I checked, there are many handbags on the shelves, and some are labeled display, but some are not. According to the other Hermes stores, if it's not display label, so if it doesn't have the no display label on it, then that is a bag that you can buy, but she refused to sell me any bags. Very snobby attitude, very disappointed though. I expected it based on the user reviews, perhaps 0-star reviews. So let's start with the door staff thing, because I think that there's some confusion here. And again, this is just I don't know, have any insider.
This is how we interpreted
This is how we interpret
the reviews, yeah.
Yeah, I think the door staff are basically, if not literally, a third party like security service. So
Correct.
You can't ask the doorman really any questions about Hermes. And I think we made that mistake early on. And they're like, I don't know what we have or what we don't have, or I don't even know what you're talking about.
They
right?
just control the capacity.
Yeah, they're there for security, right? They're not. I don't know if they feel like they don't feel like they're trained the same way as SAs. Right?
No,
they're not going
they
through
don't
a course
have to.
on,
No,
on
that's not
leathers
their
and
job.
colors.
That's not their
no,
job,
No.
no.
So, I can see
Security's the capacity, make sure that it's not
Yeah.
overcrowded, overrun. If like something chaotic happen,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that it's under
yeah,
control.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And again, we've seen a slew of kind of craziness things happening at different fashion boutiques, especially in Los Angeles. So I totally understand. Maybe they're sort of, I guess I would call
And
it
Venice
standoffish.
is small.
Yeah. As far as the tourist thing, I mean, we found that Venice does have a pretty stringent local policy. Although it's interesting because
I feel like if we push through, it's gonna go through.
I feel like you can do pseudo local for
sure,
sure.
yeah.
If you spend enough time and money there, primarily because when they talk about locals, they're not necessarily meaning the people that just live in Venice. In fact, because of that proximity to other countries like Croatia and places like that, some of the locals are still close, but they're not actually
Because there is a
in
saying,
country or
like,
even in.
there's a saying,
Venice.
oh, if you live in the country like nearby us
Yeah.
that doesn't have the Hermes store,
Yes.
like it's okay, like they will take you as like a put in the wait
Yeah.
list. This we're talking
Yeah.
about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if you just show up and this is your first time and you don't have a relationship with an SA, of course they're going to treat you as a non-local tourist because, frankly, you're a non-local tourist and they want to save those bags for their local clientele. And
Makes sense.
depending on where you're from, and my suspicion is this person is from Hong Kong, and we'll get to that here in a second, is they'll tell you to go back to where you're from and you have a boutique of your own, right?
Yeah.
Now, as far as why I think this person is from Hong Kong, not because it was written.
We don't know, but this is our experience because was it when we were in Hong Kong?
Yeah, this is the only place they've ever done this
that we went to.
Where they had that display non-display rule. So essentially they said if it says for display only, then the bag is for display only. But if there is not a for display only sign, then that bag is actually available. And we were like,
that day we were like,
mind
oh, that's
blown.
like people like grabbing stuff like up and down. I was like, oh.
It felt like we were in a bizarre Hermes world, right? That's not how we were so used to it. So my suspicion is maybe that's where this person's coming from and that's where their expectations are.
Yes.
And so, they're already a little butthurt because they see bags that they want and they don't have the no display. And if you're operating under that mindset, then it does feel like a personal slight,
He's
right?
like, oh, this one's not display, I can get it. And when you ask the SA, I was like, oh, no, sorry, display only. Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
So, but yeah, I think overall, again, this person seems to have gone through this whole experience and had kind of a negative experience from the
since the wait time,
since
like
the wait
30
time,
minutes.
since the security guy or security person, I should say, and then their expectations about how the system works not lining up.
Yeah,
I could see how that would leave a bad taste because we've been in that situation too.
Sure.
And it's not really much you can do about it. So been to the store several times this year after I registered for the Kelly bag last year. The staff said that I would receive the bag within 1 year, which is latest now in December. After 5 visits only this year and many purchases, they eventually said that the registration is not valid anymore and I should register to yet another country. Seriously, that is hardly to be in terms of arrogance or ignorance. I'm done with Hermes for good. So first things first, sir or madam.
Join the club.
Yeah, join the club. Also, you're not done with Hermes. I know you say you're done with Hermes. This is just venting. I'm okay. You can vent with
Maybe
us.
for a couple of years.
Yeah, they're just venting. Second of all, even in situations where, like we had discussed, to build a relationship, you have to spend time and money. And it sounds, if this is true, this person has done that. There are other things factoring into it, right?
It could be that. Is it a sir? Is it a him?
I don't know who it is.
So this person might have super specific spec of the bag that he or she wants.
Yes.
Could be like down to the stitching,
Yeah.
Could be too specific. A year, I can see if it's too specific. A year, it might not.
Yeah.
It might not be able to.
Yeah,
to
that would
match
definitely
the bag.
like limit your possibilities. But
Yeah.
also, PSAs give you a year as an estimate. It's not written. It's not a written contract. There are all kinds of things that come up. There are supply shortages. There are demand shortages. There are corporate decisions where bags go one place or another.
Sure.
Right? All those things affect it. So even if you are a tier 1 A class level Hermes client, right? You spend the money and you spend the time,
Sure.
like this person seems to have done so. it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. And then as you get more and more specific, that window of opportunity to actually get those bags, even within a year, just gets smaller and smaller.
I think the
and smaller.
key is to communicate with your SA.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, if our experience from Topanga back home, right, we've been multiple times, and if you watch the video, we see where our spend is tracked to. So we've been pretty open about it, and we haven't really been offered any of the quota bags we're looking for. And we're not looking for anything super specific, right? Nothing super highly, like, rare or exotic. So, you know, I think that it is definitely possible, and it could be the boutique that they're going to, right? In this case, it is Venice. So, yeah,
But the
I
one
could
thing
see
I'm
that.
kind of puzzled is the like go put the wish list in the country. That one I don't know.
I came to buy gifts for my wife. Good choice. And there are some strange people working there. The girl didn't let me inside at all. If you are not dressed in an expensive suit, there's no place for you. You will be rudely rejected. It was pretty easy.
That's not true.
We were dressed like hobo. Well, you were dressed like a hobo.
You were wearing shorts one time.
Oh yeah, there's multiple times, but talking about Venice specifically.
Oh,
right?
oh, okay.
Yeah, but so I mean, I did dress up because I don't know. It's not it'd be cool to dress up this year. I don't really have a great reason. For
Oh, it takes so long getting ready.
it. But you know, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that maybe, and again, we've talked about this before. Perhaps we don't see it because there's other aspects that people treat us differently for, other than just the clothes. Right?
Sure.
They see that we're Americans. They see that we speak English. You know, and for better or worse, sometimes that means you get treated a little bit differently. I don't know. Maybe this person, it's not an issue of the clothes. It's something else that this person is just they're displaying in a different way, and they're
Sure.
being treated that way. Or maybe they're displaying in a way that Italians don't feel is, you know, fancy enough or whatever. And so there's so many ways that you can take this, but our experience so far from us personally, from who we are,
Yeah.
we've never really had that problem with, just because you're not dressed nice. All right, so here we go for Venice. We wanted to buy a ring, a deplorable reception by the doorman. Okay. The saleswoman presented us with only one model of ring and told us that she had nothing else. Staff not smiling nor motivated to sell. It is better to shop for Hermes in French. This one was originally in French.
In France.
In France, yeah. So first of all, I agree. Something just completely different about shopping Hermes in France, right? It just
They have
it's-
way more inventory,
Yeah.
for sure.
Also, check out our videos about our Hermèscapades in Paris, because we have that. So this one's a little strange because, I mean, the thing is, usually they're very, very receptive to selling jewelry, right? Like
No,
they
but it
want
makes
to sell you
sense.
jewelry.
Yesterday you were asking for a ring, and they didn't
Yeah.
have what you were
Yeah.
looking for, and the one that they show, they don't have one size or something.
He's like, he's like, it is comically large. And I was like, no, he's just exaggerating. We tried it on, it was huge. It was like a manhole size cover ex libris, which I would have taken if it was a little bit smaller and if it fit my fingers. But I mean, it was huge. But the thing is, that's what they have. They don't have a huge selection of jewelry.
So that's why I understand what
Yeah.
she said, like, oh, they didn't have, they only
Yeah.
have one size. That makes sense.
Especially if you're looking for men's jewelry, like they have almost nothing, right? And the sizes they have are for very small hands.
Yeah.
So if you have kind of meaty sausage hands, you're really not going to have much of an option. And what they have is what they have. All right, so that is the 0-star reviews for the first two boutiques that we have visited here in Italy on our Hermèscapade. That is Milan and Venice. And again, I'd like to hear what you all think about some of these reviews. Do you think they're fair? Do you think it's a matter of perception? Do you think
Or compared to your experiences?
Yeah, compared to your experience as well, especially if you've been to these boutiques, but also if you've just been to Hermes overall, because these are kind of general themes that we see running through all the 0-star reviews. But you know, if you do like these videos, if you like the Hermes conversation, if you like the Hermes milieu, if you like the bag candy, let's face it, we always try to put up as much bag candy as we can. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it does really help the channel grow. And of course, we are so thankful for that.
Thank you.
But also because it means you get notified when our newest long videos come out, when our newest short videos come out, and all the stuff we have on socials at Handbag Husband on Instagram as well as on YouTube. We have new Hermes content coming out every single week. So with that, from the beautiful city of Venice, ciao.